This is a Poet Punch podcast. You recording?
Yes, I am.
You're recording. All right.
Okay.
We got a special. No, it's not a guest star per se because they're not really on the recording, but they're here in the room with us drawing.
Yeah, we've got a.
Hello.
I've come to take your souls.
We've got Rue Gupte in the building, just doodling. Roll the.
All right.
Do the roll.
What page?
Do the roll.
Okay. What page? What page are we getting?
I don't know.
Right.
Do it.
Order up. Nope. I'm not.
78.
Nope.
No, that's good because you're at 81 at the end.
But...
No, that's great for you. 80. Look, it's only 2 pages. This is perfect. This is a utopian world for us.
God.
This is this is great.
Okay.
No, there's some promise. There's Wolverine in here. More than one Wolverine.
I don't want to touch Wonder Man because they're literally doing Wonder Man.
Wyatt Wingfoot. Well, then we don't do it. We roll it, do we?
Yeah. No, we always do.
I'm so ready for Wyatt Wingfoot.
Wong. The Wong movie.
I'll be so ready for a Wong.
All right. Could you roll?
Shut up.
Could you roll the dice, please?
Yes, I'll roll the dice. Much like
5.
the Kasabian song. Roll the dice. 5. Right? And we got a lot of Wondermans and a Wong and a Wolverine and a Wraith. Right. So.
Interesting.
Basically, a lot of this page we just don't do. Because if it's Wonder Man, we just don't do it.
3 to 2 odds of getting Wonder Man.
Yeah, so we just don't do Wonder Man. Right. 1. Wolverine. I'm happy for that one.
Okay.
I'm well chuffed.
So we're gonna do an MCU Wolverine.
I reckon this is like, we're assuming that post Secret Wars they do a hard reset on a couple of things, and so this is just, what if Wolverine was always in the MCU? Or go on.
Considering the announcement that's just been made that the Fox X-Men are coming to
Doomsday. And Hugh Jackman is alive and, like, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine is alive and well in the MCU.
Do we want to either think about what his... Because he's from another X-Men universe where everything was fucked up.
Uh-huh.
What if we did an Origins movie?
But we know his origins.
No, but for this other Wolverine that had everyone killed.
But we know that Wolverine's origins quite a lot because it's the main focal point of his character arc in Deadpool. So I would say no, because that's already well touched. Like, that's already developed and is a story in it. I
personally don't want to go past do anything for after
I don't know,
Secret Wars stuff yet.
Maybe it's too nebulous for us. Maybe we just re-roll. What, Or we could just speculate. We could go, okay, what if they always had the Wolverine IP? So, like, in 2008, what if they just happened to always have the Wolverine IP? But I think that would open the floodgate for so many questions. Like, they would never have done Iron Man in the first place if they had Wolverine.
There's so many Wolverines. I'm just seeing how, like, why is this
Wolverine... Do we want to re-roll? Do we want to re-roll on
why
that page?
Is this Wolverine any different?
It's probably a different universe Wolverine, because there are quite a lot of them.
He's from the Ultimate Universe.
This
is the Ultimate Universe Wolverine.
Right. Are they all going to have the alias of Weapon X?
Yeah.
Even though that's a very specific story from...
I think they do, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well...
Let's have a think here. Little brainstorm.
Because I feel like that, like, in my opinion, the only logical route to do this
is after.
Is to say afterwards. What happens?
Yeah.
Who is it? Who would you even cast? Because Hugh Jackman is so, like, fundamentally universal with that role. If you did an MCU...
For, like, super comic accurate, very short, stocky. Just to be different.
But you would still have to have that guy be an action hero.
Yeah.
Is my thought on that. So I would say someone who is in their 30s, who is surprisingly shorter than you actually think. Which is hard, because a lot of the guys that are coming up right now
are quite tall.
So it's almost like
yeah,
difficult to find anyone who does have high star power charisma, works out, and is maybe at least 5'7". What's his height in the MCU?
It's, well, he's meant to be.
He's 5'9" in that, but like, let's be real.
I think he's like 6'3" in MCU.
No, but I'm saying in the comics, what's his height? If you're saying comic accurate Wolverine,
is 5'9".
Not usually though.
Yeah, it is.
Not usually. That's a very specific Wolverine. His shit's like 5'2" sometimes. My man is the short king. 5'3".
5'3". Okay.
Yeah, exactly. He's really like, if you watch what?
That's my height.
Yeah. But like he's
Actually, I'm taller.
Right. Anyway, so he is really short in like any of the animation, any of the comics. He is like the stockiest man alive. Like Danny DeVito unironically has probably similar proportions to him, except for the weight.
Yeah.
And the age.
We could get him to work out.
Genuinely, can you just Google
young Danny DeVito?
No, not young Danny DeVito, just male actors 5'3". And see what comes up. Because I think this is just, we can just question what they would
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe is not 5'3". That is some Google Gemini bullshit right there. That is some Google Gemini horse shit.
Pretty short.
He is short, but he is not 5'3" short. Daniel Radcliffe, he's like 5'8" or something.
It says 1.65.
Which is what in feet?
1.65 meters in feet.
No way is he 5'3". 5'4". Daniel Radcliffe is 5'4".
Yeah.
That's short.
For a guy, that is pretty short.
I mean, he's always seen as really short compared to Emma Watson and Rupert Grint.
He could be Wolverine.
He could be Okay, it's Daniel Radcliffe then. It has to be Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay.
That's so funny. Like growing up as Harry Potter, being considered like this specky nerdy kid, and then like your next big role is 5'3" Wolverine.
Okay, so I have
MCU X-Men.
I have an idea for this.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we're going to build him up to be the Wolverine after
Hugh Jackman.
After Secret Wars.
So passing the torch.
But he's going to be introduced earlier so that we're okay with the passing of the torch happening.
I think this should be a buddy cop film.
With the two of them.
I think Hugh Jackman, Daniel Radcliffe, it's essentially like a kind of not quite as that's probably going to get picked up slightly. Lower it a bit.
It's not that.
It is, like, if I can hear it, it's probably going to get
coming in.
Okay, cool. Where was I? Sorry. Probably not as fourth wall breaking as Deadpool, but probably enough of an on the nose that you're like, okay, this is about actors changing roles and people retiring characters.
Right. For me, I'm thinking like, is this a Wolverine that is from another universe? Because like, I think what we end up getting after Secret Wars is a bunch of the different universes getting kind of mashed. You get them mashed together in Battleworld.
Yeah.
But then what you get is like
so technically they meet each other for the first time in Avengers Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Is your logic with this? Okay, that's quite good.
But then I think this needs to be our origin for him.
Yeah, kind of like how Hawkeye is like the origin for Kate Bishop and is also an unpackaging of what's happened in Endgame. This is an unpackaging of what happens in Secret Wars theoretically, plus a handing of the torch moment like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But it's two Wolverines.
So this would be an assumed, like, Doomsday...
Yeah.
Creation of Battleworld.
Yeah. Do you know what I would immediately do?
What?
To establish a difference to them visually? I would very much go down the Weapon X path with Daniel Radcliffe initially.
What, so he's more...
Where it's... So the originally in the comics, if you look up, like, Weapon X why am I stuttering? Weapon X Wolverine. He's got a very distinct visual style in the comics. If it's the right one that I'm thinking of.
What, with the headgear stuff?
That full body one. That one's a lot more
interesting. This
one? Less that one and the one just above it. That. Very distinct, very graphic, very gritty variant style, which would be an interesting pairing especially if you're going for the yellow costumed Wolverine of Deadpool and Wolverine, where they're kind of like he's tragic, but he is in the goofy costume that he's been avoiding for 20 plus years, and then you have someone who's coming up as a Wolverine who has just come out of the Weapon X project and looks like that and is probably mid-murder rampage in Canada and then gets Secret Wars.
Yeah, the universes get like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think especially because if you're dealing with two Wolverines, first problem, just on both a narrative and a visual element, is you have to establish that they are two different people visually first, and then character second. Because it's especially if you're starting in Secret Wars, where so much shit is going on, you literally just have to go ooga booga, yellow, grey.
Yeah.
To change the colour palette, and then so you go, oh right, two different people. Right?
Okay, so what I'm seeing here then is that, like, I think that our opening act is following... Because we already know the other Wolverine.
Yeah.
And... we should follow the Daniel Radcliffe one first.
We should almost kind of do a Weapon X intro of what he was doing before Secret Wars. And then...
you're basically doing...
And then you say, like,
you're basically,
something
like, remaking the like, very shortly, the kind of beginning of Origins Wolverine.
Because this is also another reason for doing this specifically... is that Weapon X is one of the biggest fan favourite Wolverine standalone comics.
Yeah.
Full stop. And it is also partly why everyone fucking hates Wolverine Origins, is because they were going for Weapon X.
And they kind of blast right
and
through
they blasted right through it and then made it a very commercial fuck-up movie for that time.
Run me through the Weapon X
stuff. I really don't remember much. All I know is it's the big one that everyone cares about, and it has that very interesting graphical style. I'm not much of a Wolverine person, I just happen to know this is the one that people like, and it's got a very unique style, and it is kind of... I think it's from... It's like one of the few like late 90s, late 80s, early 90s comic books where they go for the gritty style.
Yeah.
And because it's Wolverine, it works. So while you've got like DC Comics trying to make like Superman but gritty, and you've got like Marvel trying to do like a bunch of different like what if this but edgy, this is one of the few comics that actually really works in that style because it is a very kind of graphic character automatically. Yeah, look at him, short king.
But this one here,
absolute like stocky build, man.
Because So how is he? So how does he end up in the Weapon X Pro? How are we at?
I honestly would recommend getting a brief rundown of Weapon X.
All right. Weapon X storyline. Okay.
Because I think this is like just enough of an homage as well. Because if it's like the first 10 minutes, so you get people to go, oh my god, that was a cool sequence. I now feel slightly more satisfied than I did with Wolverine Origins. And then you go for a new plot with the Hugh Jackman, Daniel Radcliffe path.
So
you kind of strike a balance of, let's give these fans this very specific thing that they got denied several times over. Also, now is here is a new story, and it's not just, this thing, but this thing.
Alright. Could you read this out for us, please?
Alright. The series begins with Logan being captured and prepared for the adamantium bonding process. There are several mentions of his being tough, and the professor, the director of the Weapon X program... what? The professor, the director, along with his assistants... They wipe his mind to bond the adamantium, the hardest known substance on Earth, to his bones and prepare him to be a mindless, soulless killing machine. prior to Wolverine Volume 2, issue number 75, the plot had too much adamantium bonded to his... The plot had too... What is going on with this page?
It's describing the original plot line and how this changed it. So it's saying that prior to this, the original plot had it that too much adamantium bonded to his forearms, which created the claws. But
in this, it was, we made a weapon. We've designed it that way. He is supposed to bring out some claws. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God! I'm remembering another. Whoa! Sorry.
That
I don't know why that. I even heard that reverb. Don't even know what was going on there. I remember another reason why people got pissed off, because they didn't just do it with Wolverine Origins. They also did it in
Dark Phoenix.
Is it Dark Phoenix or is it Apocalypse? Because they also went for that style with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Can you bring that up actually? Because I can't remember what it looks like. It's like do you like Hugh Jackman Weapon X?
Yeah, they do this.
It's fucked, man.
I get what they're going for.
They're going for something, but they're also like, let's not quite cover up his face because he's our...
Yeah. So I reckon that you do all of this, but you cover his face up so you don't realise it's Daniel Radcliffe for the first initial bit. And, you have him already getting the injections happening, and then brief flashes to him, running through the woods or whatever and getting captured, but you still don't see who's playing him.
Yeah.
And then...
I think Radcliffe would also be down for that as well, because I think part of his issue is that he's so tied to Harry Potter that he's almost not allowed to just act.
And then, you can have it... the good thing is that you can have it that his memory has been wiped completely, and he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah. Which
means that he has to learn from the other Wolverine who he is.
Yeah.
And you can almost have him as our Hugh Jackman Wolverine has finally gotten over that early 2000s kind of I would never wear yellow spandex kind of thing.
We have a new guy
who's a bit more like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's getting through that arc very quick, much quicker of being I wouldn't be called dead in that. It's you can't die.
You're eventually going to change your mind. Yeah. Might as well start now.
Yeah, it's I was just like you at one point. It's weird seeing it now.
Grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
you could almost do okay, this might be chatting shit.
Right.
But you could almost do a healthy masculine role model storyline with this. Where he's going through an edgy masculine phase.
Yeah. And
then grows up. Partly through the new Wolverine, the old Wolverine's guidance.
Yeah.
It could be if you're thinking about themes and motifs, it could be a very small layer just somewhere there where it's this is also a little bit about fragile masculinity and growing up.
Sort of.
But it's just in there, but it's not we're gonna focus in and drill. Be this is about male loneliness epidemic. We're not gonna do that, but we're gonna have
the Wolverine loneliness epidemic.
Yeah. They say that. They say there's so many Wolverines in different timelines, all having problems, but they don't share their feelings with each other. And
so I'm thinking that before this new Wolverine can even really have a chance to figure out,
who he
is.
Yeah.
The sky opens up.
Yeah.
Big incursion happens.
It's literally
He's still got no memories of who he is.
Because if I remember in Weapon X, it's literally they do that and then he goes sicko mode.
Yeah.
Kills everyone in. Who's the evil guy who's played by the guy in Succession? What's his name? Stryker?
Yeah, Stryker.
Stryker. I don't think he kills Stryker, but he'll probably be halfway through the sequence where Stryker's put him in.
I think we keep Stryker as the main villain of this. Properly.
I think you have several Strikers.
the council of Strikers.
I think.
And they're all played by the ones from the other movies.
So I think you bring back, or at least you bring back Brian Cox. He's definitely one of them, because I think he is a good Striker.
I think you bring the X-Men Origins Wolverine one.
I don't think you do. I think.
Or do you think of the younger one? Do you think the younger one from?
I think we should do a similar thing where we're recasting one of them.
Right.
So there's essentially Hugh Jackman and Daniel Radcliffe on one side, Brian Cox and blank on the other side.
Peter Capaldi.
I don't think it has to be an old guy.
The only problem is that if you go young, you end up with the Days of Future Past thing, which is where they went young in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And that works.
I'm not saying young. I'm saying 30s to 40s. Hear me out.
Right.
Our favourite Uncle Ben, Adam Scott, the Severance guy.
He's not Uncle Ben.
He's Uncle Ben in Madam Web.
Oh fuck, he is as well.
He's Uncle Ben in Madam Web. But we don't have to reference that. I do think he would be a good one.
I think more of a Jason Isaacs.
No, I think that's overdone. Especially because I feel like it has to be someone where he's technically up and coming, quote unquote, in that he's becoming more of a household name. Because obviously Adam Scott's been around with Parks and Rec before for ages. But he is now the leading man of the most talked about show right now.
I'm just not convinced that he's the right. I think
it doesn't have to be him, but that kind of line of reasoning is what I'm going for.
I think that if you the other guy from Parks and Rec who comes in at the same time, Rob Lowe, is far closer to it because Rob Lowe has that
and he's not in much other than 9-1. It's that fire one. That's his main stuff.
Rob Lowe really comes across as somebody who can be both very charismatic, and then a complete sociopath. Yeah.
So Rob Lowe could be interesting.
I think Rob Lowe, because then he's still someone in his 50s, but he's young looking.
Who else is there really from now?
I think Rob Lowe.
Who is old? Because I think I don't know. Because I don't think he has the same caliber as I feel like the key thing is you have to have someone who is kind of old, and I think Rob Lowe works well on his own, but he doesn't work well paired with someone like Brian Cox. I see him working more when he's with someone like Adam Scott, where it's he is the weird guy.
I think it's more of it then becomes more of a fun challenge thing.
Maybe
is that he's normally he used to be the younger guy. He's used to being the older person now.
I just saw Stephen King wiki with Rob Lowe, and it's made me think, weirdly, can you just bring up the It 2 cast? This is a bit of a tangent. Bill Hader? Not necessarily, but I was just thinking that they're an interesting group of people to try and cast from. Bill Hader, actually, no, low key. Now you said it.
Okay, Bill
Hader could be really interesting. Striker. Yeah, because Brian Cox would then be the straight man, quote unquote. I'm dying here. I'm dying. I'm so. Audience listeners, I'm slightly hungover. Bill Hader could be, he could be kind of the bit comedian next to the straight man. Even if he's not necessarily being I'm a goofy zany boy, he could just be fucking up in ways that old Stryker is getting pissed off.
Yeah.
In that he's so angry about mutants that he's just being a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And Bill Hader could play that so seriously, but be a clown at the exact same time. In the way that Ben Schwartz maybe couldn't.
Yeah.
Where it's okay, Bill Hader would be the guy for that.
Okay. So then what we find is that we have this unhinged Wolverine. I think we can definitely have a scene of him tearing through people. If this other Earth has arrived in the sky and they are invading to try and kill them, this Wolverine is just ugh!
There are a lot of generic shots of him bleeding out but not dying in the snowy wastelands of Canada after he's made his way out of the Stryker lab.
Yeah.
So I could see him being oh, I'm finally out. And then
like invading.
And then I'm almost imagining like, hold me now, and now sings me from the edge, and now sing.
Yeah.
So it's just him like next to some pine trees, covered in snow, coughing blood, heaving a bit,
and then like healing up, and then like,
Earth.
And then I think what you do is you then have like the like knives come through when he's like getting mad. And him just,
so it's
like,
almost like
freaking...
he's literally like coming of age, quote unquote,
and this is a
for
Wolverine
his character.
That didn't have the claws beforehand. Right?
Yeah.
So you get to have the like, oh my fuck,
which is at least different from the Hugh Jackman, where it's like, oh, when he's in Days of Future Past, he has the bone claws, and then he has metal claws.
Mm.
So there's already like this is different, and also you now have a Hugh Jackman character that can literally almost both train him in just being a healthy guy, and also on a physical, literal level, here's how your iconic weapons TM work.
Yeah. So then we get...
I feel like we've established a lot of fun bits of the story, but then
we need to have like
a plot.
Right.
I think there's the bit that... I feel like we have established interesting things to make a plot almost default.
So I think what the plot starts off with this Wolverine trying to remember who he is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really realize,
because he's literally had his memory wiped. Yeah.
But because he's now in Battleworld instead of on regular Earth, there's no clues as to who he is. There's no.
It's almost like the worst environment possible to have your memory erased. Also, be like a weapon of death.
Because everyone else in Battleworld thinks that they are there
to fight.
No. Everyone else in Battleworld thinks that that's always been the way everything is.
Right.
But he's like, so like he's just had his memory wiped.
Oh, so he's maybe understanding that technically there is a world
before it,
but his world experience has just been break out of lab, bleed out in snow, planet.
Yeah.
So he's aware that there is another world, but that's it. That's all he's got. He's got about 10 minutes of epic, cool fight sequence. It lodged in his brain.
And then, like, you need to have him kind of travelling along the different, like, biomes of Battleworld.
Right.
Because Battleworld is literally, like...
Could you elaborate a bit more? Because I still haven't read the comic.
So, Battleworld is literally patched together pieces of other universes. So it's
almost
one planet.
like
it's one planet.
The timeless zone or whatever in the TVA.
A lot of people think that the Void is like the like
is the
building
implication
blocks
of that. Okay.
Is where like Doom will make Battleworld. Will be using the Void as the template.
Interesting. But similar-ish premise.
Yeah. So even if it's not the same, it like you will have the understanding is that like, hey, this area is really snowy, and then you go to this area and it's just New York.
I remember there's like little. The only small things I remember is something like, okay, the Human Torch is literally the sun.
Yeah.
And the Thing is like this big wall around them
that keeps the symbiotes out. Yeah.
Right. So these are like. So bits of their perceived universe are actually
the Marvel
old.
zombie. I think the Marvel zombies are on the outside.
Yeah.
And they are constantly trying to get in, which is why the Thing is the wall. But then below the surface of Battleworld is where all the symbiotes are, like underground.
Yeah.
And they don't get up either.
Yeah.
And then there's the Thor core, which we can do fun with, where you have like.
I think Thor core could be interesting. Actually, I feel like Thor core is almost.
I think you need it because they're literally the police force.
Right, but I'm kind of thinking like, okay, Secret Wars is interesting, but we literally don't know what they're going to do.
But this
my logic is more we have a little bit.
This is more tying into what our.
I would say no. Anyway. I would say that this is more we technically have a before Secret Wars moment, and then we have like how Spider-Man is in Civil War, and then you have this is almost like we have before stuff implied, Civil War. Secret Wars, right? So movie, and then you have origin story, Homecoming. So this is essentially Wolverine's Homecoming,
right?
So it's kind of technically things have happened because of the thing that happened in the bigger movie. This is now a littler movie.
Yeah, but this is a littler movie that's happening after Doomsday before Secret Wars. Would be my guess. So
really, so you would say that the entire plot is happening during.
So if you see it like it would be.
The forecore would then be interesting.
Doomsday happens. End of Doomsday, I'm assuming, and what we will probably end up doing for our Doomsday episode is that the universes all die, and it ends with Doom building Battleworld, and it like the final shot is probably like the first day of the new Battleworld's existence.
What do you think about that? Moving on.
Yeah. So does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So like the ending would be like a kind of a happy ending for Doom, in that he's won of Doomsday.
Right.
He's
won.
Yeah. He's now God Emperor. The world has been set up.
And then this is kind of a mini story within the set up world.
Yeah. This is like the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
And assuming everything is semi-comics accurate.
Yeah. Which we will do for hours. But But like, who the fuck knows what they're doing?
So the forecore would be interesting, I think, especially because if you're going for a handing of the torch thing, or a kind of this character, but a little whoosh, forecore is a perfect like force to be reckoned with within that wider story, even if they're less of a character per se, but more of just a bit that's like they are the C plot.
Yeah.
So you kind of have the A plot of the Wolverines joining forces, you have the B plot of the Strikers joining forces, and then you have the C plot of
like the
forecore kind of causing trouble. So kind of Doomsday through the vision of
I do think that what you could do is a very fun bit kind of towards the end of like in this new battle world.
Yeah.
You think that like, because Doom's a villain, he's going to always side with the villains on things.
Yeah.
And then like the Strikers have actually are the ones who have like broken the laws of the land.
Yeah.
And then they're like sentenced like by Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom to like death or some shit.
Right.
Like you can do like a scene like towards the end where it's like, oh shit, there's like this world isn't just like, oh, the bad guy won, so the bad guys are always right now.
Yeah, because it's a very unique environment. Yeah. Okay. I quite like that.
So we need to figure out how our Radcliffe Wolverine meets our Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
I think it's just that classic Hugh Jackman Wolverine is isolated, is kind of fighting through the forecore or something, and then suddenly Weapon X.
Or maybe because the Wolverines have like the healing factor.
Yeah.
That like when the universe dies, they're like as long as like one atom of a Wolverine is alive, he can regrow from there.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to both of these Wolverines, is that they get almost shredded down as the universe dies. Yeah. But like just as they're like dying slower.
Oh, so they're technically anomalies that Doom wasn't expecting, because he just assumed that they got atomized.
Yeah, and
then there is technically one little shred of them that joins into Secret Wars.
Yeah, so like
both of them.
So like what we can show when like with through the eyes of our Radcliffe one is that like he's fighting.
I think that is just the origin. You see
the world dies. You get all of the. I think that you still use the visual of like the weird spaghetti kind of like falling into string thing from Loki and from Deadpool and Wolverine.
But you somehow incorporate the fact that he's been atomized and it's kind of like string onto.
What you do is you show that because of his healing factor, it's peeling off way slower than everyone else.
Yeah.
And so when the universe is and there's like nothing, he's still like the last thing that's still
he's very much just contradicting the world almost by
and then like in that time where there's no universe and then suddenly Doom you see like far off in the distance Doom has like built a new planet out of nothing.
I think basically through this it's almost perfect if you have Daniel Radcliffe be like at least the first 20 minutes of this.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like the Weapon X program, all of the Secret Wars intro stuff is happening, because not only are you kind of establishing this world in this condition for this character, but on another level, you are getting an audience more used to the idea of Daniel Radcliffe being the new Wolverine on his own, completely. Just because like that is also just lots of cool beats from the comics that have never truly worked out.
Yeah.
Plus an interesting twist for the first 20 minutes. Very strong opening.
I'm really liking the visual idea of like, just as
it's literally the like indomitable force versus
like just as he's almost fully disintegrated, the new world is created, which stabilizes him.
Yeah.
And like you then see him being like rebuilt from the like outside, from like, I assume from like the brain, the head first or something.
Yeah.
Out. And so
it's poetry, you see. It's poetry.
Right.
Because you're reforming Wolverine from the ground up as a character. Ah, yes, we definitely thought of that. That was definitely
what it means is that when you get to Hugh Jackman, when he meets up with Hugh Jackman Wolverine, the assumption for why Hugh Jackman Wolverine remembers the world before and stuff like that is because the same thing happened where he survived long enough through the changeover in universe that like he's not. So like what typically happens in Secret Wars is that everyone who isn't on one of the life rafts and isn't with Doom dies, and then Doom from memory rebuilds a bunch of people and then builds them with a fake history.
The only I think if we're talking motifs with that, or like themes, I think it's about finding yourself.
Yeah, literally.
And so you have these two characters who both, so Daniel Radcliffe doesn't have all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
But he at least has a mentor who has a very healthy dose of actual context to the situation, versus the Stryker characters who would have been completely reset and are figuring out their shit together, probably not even realizing that they're the same guy from two different worlds. And then on top of that, you're also dealing with everyone in the Thor Corps and like every other side character that you possibly add is clueless, kind of running around like a headless chicken.
I think the trick is that you can actually keep it quite small.
Yeah.
By it
is just like any C-plot, any like additional character.
The Thor Corps aren't made up of Thors.
Yeah.
They're made up of random people who have who wield Mjolnir, which is what so you don't have.
It's almost interesting just keeping that vague, just being like, fuck it, whoever is technically available is there.
Well, you just have some extra as like dressed.
That guy is Mr. Fantastic, I guess, from One World, the Maker. No, throw him in. No, I'm joking.
But like it doesn't. Like that's the thing is that it literally can be any.
It can be anyone. Yeah.
I would almost if what I would do personally. Is that I would have it that Doom converted the TVA into the Thor Corps.
Ah, that could be fun.
So that you have like Mobius as like one of the top guys, but they've all had their memory wiped still. Yeah. But it's those same actors.
I would actually be really interested in watching Owen Wilson play a really serious
Thor character
who is like not afraid to beat someone's head in with a hammer.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious on that.
Yeah, that could cook actually.
Yeah. Because you're like, it's the goofy one from Loki. Like,
and then I think you find we need to like he needs to like our Wolverine needs to kind of go around these different, because I'm imagining that it's a lot very medieval looking battle world
because
especially in the area that he's probably in.
Yeah,
it's like going to like this little village and then getting some clothes, like getting some clothes.
Yeah. As both of them like adjusting to a completely new environment, being like,
well, has he found the other Wolverine yet? Because I think
they should find each other immediately. I really do. I think, especially because you're doing like 20 minutes just Daniel Radcliffe alone.
Yeah.
The second they're in Secret Wars environment, 5 to 10 minute sequence where they conveniently find each other.
Well, maybe he like reconstitutes in like an open field, and they're both kind of, and then he walks for a bit, and the other Wolverine is just kind of there.
You can almost have them be in that medieval, like they both are kind of, they see a medieval town in the distance, both walk to it.
Yeah.
Go, okay, that seems to be the nearest form of life in this area. Cut to, for some reason, they've both found themselves in like medieval stocks.
Yeah.
side by side, or something like that.
I also think that
where it's just a silly meat
like you do, and some of the jokes will be that like, oh my god, Daniel Radcliffe is so much smaller than Hugh Jackman, like that. But then I think he also, in some of Deadpool and Wolverine, Wolverine like ran on all fours and did like weird feral shit.
Yeah, I think you really play that up with Daniel Radcliffe.
I think Daniel Radcliffe needs to be a Wolverine that is animalistic and smells. He needs to smell bad. He needs to be a disgusting
especially after Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He has to be different. So he has to not be like
gremlin.
Yeah, he has to not be like this lovable schoolboy child like Wonder Gee Whiz kid.
Yeah.
He has to be stinky fucky gritty Harry Potter, like stinky fucky gritty.
Yeah.
Like wrong, smelly boy, wrong. Like, yeah. But then also be like, oh, if you see him in an interview, he's hot.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't know how much of this, like, I feel like this is just an interesting what if at this point. And there's not really much point in working out how the ending goes, because I feel like if this were to exist, a lot of that would just be found through the chemistry of the actors almost, where you would go, oh, right, how would this... Oh. It just... Because like, it's also just like it like most of the interesting parts of this
is the beginning,
and then the wider themes.
Yeah,
and we've clearly found the themes, so it doesn't really matter that much how it ends, in my opinion. Yeah. I know that sounds like a cop out, but I just genuinely believe that.
I think it would be. I think you keep like, even though it's like it's set in this like fantastical world, you keep it very small scale.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even leave the like
at max you see maybe 2 forts.
Yeah, as like police dudes.
Yeah.
But also like I think they don't even leave their little biome of Battleworld yet.
Yeah, they just happen to be in the medieval Hamlet section.
Yeah. And then I think the big ending, I think, is them being like confronted by Doom,
and then they're not the ones that
are in trouble.
The troublemakers.
Yeah, it's
the 2 strikers having realised that they're both strikers or something, and then causing havoc. Blip, gone. Oh fuck, Doom's quite powerful. Just in time for Secret Wars.
Yeah,
this is almost just like a better version of what they tried to do with Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is the Ant-Man and the Wasp of the Doomsday.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, oh, here's this side story which is loosely connected to what's going on with Infinity War and Endgame.
This is what I suspect Spider-Man 4 will end up being, if I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man 4 is coming out in between Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Sony has put... So this is again, all Sony's fault, really, because...
Truly.
Marvel was like main Marvel was like, you should do a grounded Spider-Man movie.
Jake Snyder's up to shenanigans.
Yeah, and then Sony was like, do you know what, we could, but the one with all of the multiverse stuff made us loads of money, and they're like, yeah, but that won't happen, it won't work again. And then they delayed it so much that like it now, because so Sony, if they release it any later than next year, they lose the rights to Spider-Man. So they have like a time constraint on when they have to make a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It now has to come out in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now you could either
legally speaking, it has to go. Yeah.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah.
And so they still want this partnership. So that means that it's probably going to end up being a movie set in probably in the New York part of Battleworld, and I wouldn't be surprised if like the first half of the movie...
It's almost like a fake out where you think it's in New York and then, oh shit,
it wouldn't surprise me at all if the first half of the movie you don't realise that... You're like, oh, when is this set? I actually don't know. Because like, if Spider-Man isn't in Doomsday, you could even be like, oh wow, is this like before? Are we about to see the incursions happen from Spider-Man's perspective? And then like there's an announcement on like Times Square and it's from Doom.
Especially because if it's like the Tom Holland, because it will be the Tom Holland.
Yeah.
He's very much just gone, okay, no one knows who I am. I'm going to become friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm going to be a low stakes superhero.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the high stakes.
Yeah.
Stuff has been going on in the background. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It will be that moment. Right, I think that's good.
I think that's good too.
Because I really don't... I don't think it needs much
No, I think...
source.
I think the 2 Wolverines kind of... There'd probably be more... You'd flesh this Wolverine out more once you did once you did like the reboot thing, and you'd have our current Wolverine die or something. I don't.
Ooh, could almost have the two strikers try to get killed by Doom. It's almost like a final send off for Hugh Jackman and Brian Cox.
Yeah.
That Hugh Jackman tries to protect Stryker.
Right.
Gets killed by Doom in the process.
Yeah.
New Daniel Radcliffe Wolverine, only option.
Yeah.
Interesting final send-off for Hugh Jackman. Now we're finally done. He doesn't have to do this fucking bit till 90.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's free. He's free. He can finally leave. Because he's had his fun with Deadpool now. Like, he's done the things that were going to be gratifying to him.
Yeah.
And now it's just, now we can go, okay, it's really close. The doors are really close now. Gone. Okay. But then he's probably going to be Doctor Doom at some point, like Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, he'll probably. I mean, I think
he'll be evil Wolverine.
I think he'll have been in Doomsday with the other X-Men.
Yeah. Like, and then you're like, and then you'd be like, why is he not in Secret Wars? Watch.
Yeah.
Wolverine. That's why he's not in.
Yeah, exactly. He died.
Just call it Weapon X or something. Boom.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's done.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
That was great. Goodbye.